Today is a very auspicious day, Disappearance Day of one dear disciple of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur. He is a household devotee. Generally we hear about sannyasis, but he is a household devotee and he disappeared during the lifetime of Prabhupada, and Prabhupada himself was observing this disappearance festival of his disciple for 2 or 3 consecutive years till he was alive. Means staying in this world. Alive means staying in this world. Let me find. Yes. I will read because I don't want to miss any point. Sri Jagadbandhu Datta was born in the village of Banaripara, Barisal district, East Bengal, means Bangladesh, in the Bengali year 1278. This is our counting, 1872 or 73. When he was 14, a flurry of wind entered his ear and blew away much of his sense of hearing, thus ending his schooling. At age 16, he opened a tiny grocery shop in his village, yet gradually the hardships of running it alone, compounded by his hearing defect, twice impelled him to attempt suicide by ingesting opium. On both occasions, with considerable endeavor and difficulty, doctors managed to save him. Upset that his relatives would not let him die, Jagadbandhu fled home and headed for Calcutta with merely 14 rupees. On arrival, the prospects of the big city afforded him renewed hope, although his first days there were spent living on a footpath, drinking Ganga water, and chewing dried chickpeas purchased with a few paise he was able to scrape together. By patient hard work and utilization of his sharp business intelligence, eventually he was able to start a company producing GBD brand ink, which soon made him rich and famous. Desiring to reside by and daily bath in the Ganga in Bengali 1322, he acquired a piece of land adjacent to the river and there constructed a palatial homestead replete with adjoining gardens. So karma is like this, it's changing. In 1326, while visiting his native village to attend a brother's death ceremony, he broke a leg, which became so seriously infected that doctors advised amputating it, means cut off. Not desiring amputation, yet fearing for his life, Jagadbandhu prayed intensely to Bhagavan, and within a few days he unexpectedly came in contact with 2 Gauriya Math devotees. This is always happening. When we pray to God, then by His grace we come in contact with devotees. A committed Shakta and worshipper of many gods, means demigods. Shakta means worshipper of Kali, Durga. and worshipper of many gods, means demigods, Jagadbandhu was upheld at the condition of popular Vaishnavism, and having been cheated by several hypothetical Vaishnavas, had developed a deep aversion toward the Vaishnava cult. Yet, upon hearing from the Gauriya Math devotees the Bhakti Siddhanta as expounded by the Acharya of that name, and upon reading the books of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur given by them, he began to appreciate genuine Vaishnava Dharma as elevated and pure, and when out of danger, occasionally visited the Gauriya Math at Ultadangi, that is that first math. During such visits, Kunja Bihari Prabhu would personally escort and give special treatment to Jagadbandhu, who after about 3 years revealed to him, "I am a businessman doing honest trade, but knowing the world to be full of fleecers, I don't accept anything very easily. It is obvious to me that most supposed gurus of our day are simply hoaxers. Fake means hoaxers, fake. Hence, I had lost all faith in Vaishnava Dharma. I have been observing your men carefully to see if they are the same type, and now I am convinced that their sincerity, probity, Guru Bhakti, adherence to regulative principles, and enthusiastic dedication to preaching are all for real." In 1926, Jagadbandhu was invited by Gauriya Math devotees to attend Ratha Yatra in Puri and the contemporaneous annual festival of the Purushottam Math. Seeing Maharaj Sir Manindra Chandranandi listening to Harikatha from Srila Saraswati Thakur at Purushottam Math, Jagadbandhu also became inspired to hear in earnest. Kunja Da, that is Kunja Bihari Prabhu, then introduced Jagadbandhu and his 2 wives to Srila Saraswati Thakur, who respectfully greeted them and spoke at length about the practice and propagation of pure devotion according to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's principles. Jagadbandhu expressed his profound satisfaction, declaring that never before had he heard such a novel yet philosophically sound exposition of spiritual truths. Astonished and impressed upon observing the Gauriya Math devotees' constant engagement in Harikatha Kirtan, even while bathing, eating, or going for evacuation, and their Jukta Vairagya and sincerity, he realized that they were far better than the hangers-on surrounding Maharaj Nandi, that is king. After a few more days of hearing Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, Jagadbandhu felt such mental and even physical relief that he requested to be accepted as a disciple. Upon returning to Calcutta, he was awarded Harinam and the name Jagadbandhu Das Adhikari. Later, he was decorated with the titles Bhakti Ranjan, means one who delights in devotion, and Shrestha Arya, best of the noble. Now a staunch Vaishnava, he forswore solid food and ate just once daily, taking only milk, roots, and fruit, and constantly chanted the holy names until nightfall. Eager to share his good fortune, Jagadbandhu Prabhu arranged that his homeland be inundated with the Krishna Kirtan of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and 36 accompanying Gauriya Mat devotees. So you see, very simple eating and all the time chanting Harinam after getting grace of real sadhu. Jagadbandhu Prabhu respected Kunjada on a level similar to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's. Kunjabandhu was like a right-hand man of Prabhupada. He was doing all the management of the Gauriya Mat. Prabhupada would speak. Having no sons to inherit his wealth, our Gurudev also, when he joined the Mat, becoming disciple of Parangurudev, but that time they were all staying in Chaitanya Mat, original. So that time our Parangurudev engaged our Gurudev as a brahmachari to be secretary to serve Kunja Bihari Prabhu. That time Srila Bhakti Vilas Tirtha Maharaj. For some time Gurudev was in his seva, till they were in Chaitanya Mat. Having no sons to inherit his wealth, and desiring to offer his lifetime earnings to a project of significant and lasting social benefit, he asked Kunjada's blessings to perform some specific service appropriate to his capabilities. The need to upgrade from the outgrown facility at Ultadanga Junction Road became obvious to all. Kunjada suggested that Jagadbandhu bestow a custom-built temple in style commensurate with the now established reputation of the Gauriya Mat as a permanent headquarters for the mission in Calcutta. When Jagadbandhu mooted this proposal to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, who knew that he had the means to do something wonderful, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati directed him to erect a temple wherefrom Gaura Sundar's message could be broadcast throughout the globe. Accordingly, Jagadbandhu Prabhu secured a site close to his own home in Bagbazar with the intention that he and his family members would regularly associate with, serve, and hear from the Matavasis. He sacrificed most of his vast fortune, means wealth, to fully fund the construction thereon a palatial marble temple with an adjoining kirtan hall and ashram. And under Kunja Bihari Prabhu's guidance, he personally oversaw the construction. That Bagbazar Gauriya Mata is still there. I went there several times. Actually, last time I went there on this particular day when the Disappearance Day of Jagadbandhu Prabhu happened. And I took his photo. There, some statue is there. I took that photo. The Harmonist, this is the magazine started by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in English. There were Gauriya, Bengali, then in different languages, Hindi, Assamese, and English. So English was Harmonist. There are still, you can find on internet if someone wants, there are all those years from 26 or 8 till 33, I think, that was going on. They're scanned, all the articles by Prabhupada and his disciples in English. The Harmonist described Jagadbandhu Prabhu's manifestation of Shuddha Bhakti in establishing the landmark temple. So this article was written in Harmonist at that time. The new buildings of the Gauriya Mat are the pious gift of a successful businessman of Calcutta, an inhabitant of Barisal, who is popularly known by initials of his name as JBD. Shri Juta Jagadbandhu Datta personally supervised every detail of construction and gave all his time, attention, and a large part of his fortune to the building and beautifying of the house of Godhead and his devotees. The temple is 85 feet high and built in a genuine Indian style. The Natya Mandir is a noble hall fronting the temple, excelling in certain respects the best ones in Calcutta. The best and most costly materials have been used in the construction of every part of the buildings, which will remain an enduring memorial of the beneficent piety of their donor and builder. You will find there, still it is there. Jagadbandhu never regarded the cost of the buildings as involving any sacrifice to himself. He said that all that was his was the wish to build the temple of Godhead and also the home of his devotees. The money that was required for the purpose had been supplied by Sri Gurudev. He said that this could not be understood by anyone except himself. He said, what I have is actually sent by Prabhupada so that I can use for this service. He never thought this is mine, I earned it, all this. No, he did not have such imperfect vision. He had pure vision. He said that this could not be understood by anyone except himself. He was particularly anxious to disclaim all credit for spending any money of his own on the buildings. This is not my money. This money is sent by Prabhupada for this service. That is, one is without false ego. Everything is given by God. Even our power to do work is given by Him. So how we can take any credit? I did, it is mine. Well, this is all false ego. Real ego is we are servants of God. We are serving like chaste Vedic wife. With all the articles of husband, she's serving him. Never thinking this is mine. This was the argument which he also mainly employed in convincing the heirs of his property, sons, not sons, but other relatives. He said, no, this money does not belong to you. It belongs to God for his service. He told them that he had not touched either his capital or the profits of his business to the extent of a single paisa in building the Gauriya Math. It is not mine. He also urged everyone to wish to serve the Lord if he wanted to have a proper idea of his case. In no other way anyone else could understand or believe what he said. But it is certain that he did not grudge in the least the enormous cost of the buildings. On the contrary, he was always full of new plans for expenditure. He was extremely fond of the most costly decorations. He felt very sad if anyone asked him to reduce his lavish expenditure on decoration. When he was told to give up some of his plans of decoration in view of the fact that they could not be completed within the time at his disposal, he appeared to be very much distressed, taking it to be a great punishment inflicted on him by the Lord for his past misdeeds. See what is his vision. He was very particular to pay in cash, both for material and labor, saying that if he tried to build on loan, he would be in the power of his creditors and might be compelled to use inferior material, which he did not want. The original plan that he had conceived of the buildings underwent rapid expansion as the work progressed. He always assured his best friend Shripad Kunja Bihari Vidyabhushan Prabhu that he was prepared to spend whatever was necessary for making the temple as beautiful as possible. As the costs mounted up to an ever-increasing figure, the delight and enthusiasm of Bhakti Ranjan Prabhu proportionally increased. His gladness knew no bounds as the day of inauguration of the buildings drew near. This means near. He confessed to all his friends that he had no sleep at night for his anxiety to complete the buildings in time for the inauguration ceremony. The only way to please him was by praising the buildings. If any defect were pointed out, he would not rest until the defect had been completely rectified. He demolished costly constructions many times over without the least hesitation to avoid every defect that was detected. It is not possible to make an actual estimation of the cost of the buildings. Jagadbandhu himself never set any limits to his expenditure. In these circumstances, the cost is likely to have been high, probably higher than any guess of a businessman. Jagadbandhu built the temple of Godhead in the spirit and with the purpose of the true devotee. No one will probably ever know what the buildings actually cost. He made an unconditional gift of the buildings and land to Shri Gurudev. This proves the perfection of his faith and must be wholly unintelligible to persons who are less devoted to the service of the servants of Krishna. Those who are not interested in the service of Krishna, they cannot understand about his mood, about his vision, and what he actually was doing. It is the pure selfless soul of JBD that has been translated into the living abode of Godhead and his devotees. It is necessary to mention a few details regarding the personal exertions of JBD in connection with the buildings of the Math. He was present on the premises from the day when the foundations were laid. He was in the worst state of bodily health at that time and onward. He, however, chose to accept personal hardship of the most intensive type. He did not care for wind, rain, or sun, and attended personally to the laying of one brick upon another. The whole of his time, from early morning to a very late hour into the night, was wholly consecrated to the service of the buildings. Even he did not care about his own health, because those who are real devotees, they are interested only in the service. They don't mind any other interest or difficulty or condition. No, they think my necessity is service of Krishna. His secular business prospered most wonderfully all the while that he was engaged in this manner. His attachment to the work of actual construction need not, therefore, be supposed to be allied to any form of barren asceticism or stoicism. He was able to make the most efficient arrangement for the conduct of his secular affairs by giving practically all his time to the service of the Math. This is also not intelligible to those who have no experience of the real nature of the genuine devotion to the servants of Krishna. The service of Godhead is the only complete and true way of fulfilling our duties to humanity. There are indeed hypocrites who teach to neglect worldly affairs as the necessity of spiritual life. They want to renounce world, but JBD knew better. He devoted all his attention, time, and money to the abode of the servants of Krishna without having to neglect his ordinary worldly affairs in any way. Everything depends on the target. Whether you are serving Krishna, you utilizing everything for him. If this is there, then means is justified by the end. Everything is spiritual, not material. So renouncing is wrong. We have to use everything for the service of Krishna. No one ever heard him brag of his spirit of sacrifice. He did never praise himself. You see how much I sacrificed. No, that was never heard from him. To be proud of, to express pride, to brag. He knew that in Slovenian language, I don't know in English how to explain properly. In Slovenian language is da se ni hvalil nikoli. He did not praise himself. He knew that service to Krishna is always a fulfillment of everything and never a sacrifice of anything. Fulfillment of everything. Proper usage of everything. That is the point. Not renouncing or improperly using for your own enjoyment, but properly utilizing everything for the service of Krishna. That is correct action. But the worldly mind can never understand this. He also asked all his dependents and relations to devote all their time to the worship of Godhead under the guidance of the really pure devotees of the Gauriya Math. This exhortation and his own living example had their effect on their hearts. This is the way in which JBD was making real provision for his numerous accepted household. He had no children of his own. He did not believe in the sufficiency of beneficence of an earthly provision. He entrusted to his heirs, by way of their provision, the task of the due completion of the Gauriya Math building. This you have to do with all the property. The completion of Gauriya Math should be done. That is your provision. Those rich men who may be disposed to think that personal labor is unnecessary in the service of Godhead cherish a fatal blunder from which they can be rescued only by following the example set by JBD, like Ambarish Maharaj. He, with his own hand, he was all the time serving Krishna. He also was serving. Personal labor. There is no indignity in doing manual service for the Lord. Yes, like the king of Puri, he's doing sweeping for Jagannath. That outwardly looks like a sweeper, like some low class. So one king did not want to marry her daughter to a sweeper. But the point is, if this is as a service of Krishna, then there is no indignity. That is nothing low. It is the highest. Every service to Krishna is higher than anything else. Those who do such service are fully equal to those who are fit to worship Sri Radha Govinda in their minds. One may do internally, or one may do with all the articles of this world. That is same, because target is the same. So according to necessity and how Krishna engages us, some will worship in the mind, some will worship him with all the articles of the world. Target is the same. Without the manifestation of this apparently external form of activity, As a matter of fact, neither the mind nor the body can serve Krishna. Krishna may, however, enable both to be employed in his service. As soon as one obtains this mercy of Krishna, his bodily and mental activities acquire the spiritual character and become super-mundane and altogether wholesome in their aptitudes, means healthy, properly used. Those who may be disposed to regard JBD as unfit for mental worship and accordingly to undervalue his personal manual labor in connection with the building of the Gauriya Math are themselves unfit to understand the principle of pure devotion to Krishna. The sweeper who worships Krishna is infinitely higher than conceited pseudo-Brahmana who scorns any form of the worship of the worshippers of the Supreme Lord. This is not sentimentalism. The realization of this great truth is the only cure both of sentimentalism and nihilism, which are the cousin Germans of rank atheism. Atheistic. We are not believing in God and his service. That is sentimentalism and nihilism. So if one can realize real devotion to Krishna, then he can be cured of these two things. For kings and servants, no less than for the poor and ignorant, the conduct of this simple, faithful servant of the Lord should serve as a great eye-opener. The same remark is equally applicable to those malicious hypocrites who may choose to regard the temple of Godhead and the abode of his pure devotees as having any similarity in their own showy habitations dedicated to the sedulous cultivation of undiluted sensuousness. It is necessary to build for Godhead and his devotees the most sumptuous edifice. It is unnecessary to build even a hovel for the gratification of one's own sensuous appetites. JBD toiled bareheaded under the burning sun to build the house of Godhead with the accumulations of a life of exemplary industry. He was honestly earning money, and honestly he was properly engaging his money. That is exemplary. His conduct should be the living refutation of the sophistry and casuistry of the whole race of self-seeking atheists of every denomination, any type of atheist. He is refuting them all by his proper example. So this was the article in Harmonist. Now here biography continues. Many persons build temples and establish deities, but Jagadbandhu Prabhu was different inasmuch as he gave his full energy, attention and hard-earned life savings for establishing this temple of Chaitanya Vani. Throughout the several years over which the project was brought to fruition, he spoke of no other topic. In his zeal to complete it, he wholly ignored medical advice to refrain from excessive physical labor and climbing to high places. Although he often said, I will not die, his health was so poor as to indicate that he was remaining in this world solely to complete this task, which upon fulfilling, he immediately passed away. That happened just after that inauguration festival, because he did his job and then he was taken by Krishna to his abode. In the hours prior to his demise, Srila Saraswati Thakur deputed Srimad Bhakti Pradip Tirtha Maharaj, Sri Bhakti Saranga Goswami, and others to perform Harinam Sankirtan by his bedside. At the last moments, Jagadbandhu Prabhu called out, "Where is Prabhupada? Where is Kunjada?" Upon which they swiftly appeared to pour Harikatha into his thirsty ears as he was departing in full consciousness, in the manner of the glorious Tirobhap of Srila Haridas Thakur. So in front of them and in the midst of Sankirtan. It was 19 November 1930, the penultimate day of the inauguration festival. For this, Srila Saraswati Thakur declared that his beloved disciple had returned to the spiritual abode. That is why he himself was observing his disappearance festival. Like in ISKCON, Srila Sai Maharaj was observing for Jayananda Prabhu, disciple. So here also he declared he went to spiritual abode because he was fully dedicated. He was without any false ego, any desires of this world, nothing. Only completely dedicated to the service of Krishna and his devotees. Such person can enter into that abode. Sri Jagadbandhu Prabhu's body, sanctified by its dedication to Hari Seva, was brought from his home into the Natya Mandir of Sri Gauriya Mat, who was there blessed by his Guru Maharaj, means Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and adorned by his god brothers with prasad flowers and sandalwood pulp, then taken to the Ganga for the last rites. His widows resolved to establish Samadhi in front of Sri Gauriya Mat on the open space where the theistic exhibition had been held. With Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati's wholehearted sanction, subsequently the bones and ashes from Sri Jagadbandhu Prabhu's cremated form were sprinkled with water from Sri Radha Kunda and other holy sites and interred in that Samadhi. Each year thereafter, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati observed as a major festival at Sri Gauriya Mat a separation ceremony, that is Viraha Sabha, to honor Sri Jagadbandhu Prabhu with thousands attending, and himself discoursing with deep appreciation about Sri Jagadbandhu Prabhu's genuine surrender. Not only he had contributed money, but had unreservedly and wholly given his very self in service to the Lord. He also wrote one Bengali song expressing this, that what I can give to my Gurudev which is not his own. Nothing is mine. Means he expressed that actual real realization of the truth. So he served. I heard about him before and from Gurudev's book. So last time in 2019, when I was in Calcutta, previous years I visited Sri Bagbazar Gauriya Mat, because Srila Sannyasi Maharaj, I knew he is now Acharya. So that year he was not there present, but he told me I must go to the mat and take prasad because I have to see that Chaitanya museum they opened. So he gave me number of one Madhusudan Maharaj there. So I spoke with him, and somehow, sometimes he did not have time to be there when I would come, and sometimes there I had some difficulty with my companion in Calcutta, my godbrother, with whom usually I went there. So sometimes he could not, and like this. So there were some complications to finding appropriate time. So finally I decided I will go alone. I will not depend on him. I will go alone with metro and everything. So then I called that Madhusudan Maharaj and I said, I will come at this time. You will be there. He said, yes, it is fine with me. So I went, and then I understood that actually that day was this day, Disappearance Day of Jagadbandhu Prabhu, who built this Bhag Bazar Gauriya Mat. And I saw this, his samadhi, one statue also is there that is on the outside. And I took photo, and that Maharaj also arranged for me to see Chaitanya Museum. That is also very nice. And I got prasad and the darshan of Diti, everything. That is very beautiful, this temple. Everything in marble, in stone. Very nice style and big. And during Arati, they are having some special dancing in a regulated manner, not as everyone personally is doing, but there is some system they're dancing. So you have to know how to follow. And the deities there are called Shri Shri Guru Gaurango Radha Binod Ananda. Bhakti no Thakur, Binod Ananda, the one who gives pleasure to Bhakti no Thakur, or he gives pleasure to him, Krishna, Radha Binodananda. And there, of course, is also the Bhajan Kutir of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and from that room he disappeared from this world. And he spoke his last Harikatha there, that Antim Vani and everything was there, so that one can see and pay obeisance. So on today's day, I am remembering Shri Jagadbandhu Prabhu's statue there in Bhag Bazar Gauriya Mat, and bowing down to him and praying his causeless mercy. Tomorrow we are getting visit of Srila Tapasi Maharaj and Srila Brajendranandan Prabhu here. So tomorrow there will be no Skype program at 8 p.m. but we will continue on Friday. Hari Bol.